Hey there, how are you doing? Welcome back. I want to discuss female leadership and some of my opinions on it and some of my experience with it. Now, I don't have a problem with female leadership. I think that female leadership and female input is important. I do think that it creates balance. That's really a two-way street. I think that when organizations have too much male leadership, usually there ends up being some sort of abuse, and we've seen that in religious institutions. We've seen that in sports institutions, etc. For whatever reason, when a whole bunch of men get together and they are empowered and it's just kind of a closed circle, there just tends to be abuse. And it's just really better when women have some input and women are respected. Unfortunately, I feel like in America right now, true women's leadership is frowned upon. But if you look at the Trump administration, there are a lot of women in leadership positions, and they're really just being used. For instance, Pam Bondi is the Attorney General. She's terrible. She has no integrity whatsoever. Same thing with Christina Holm. Same thing with Caroline Levitt. But this is what I think happens, and this is why I think they're in those positions. Pam Bondi, I think that Pam Bondi is really pretty. I think she's a terrible person, but I do think that she's pretty. And she was at a Senate hearing, I think is what you would call it, a couple of weeks ago, and she acted a complete fool. And I just feel like that is accepted from a pretty woman more than it would be from a man. And now men have acted a fool like that too, but I do think that women are given a little bit more leeway, an attractive woman, than a man would, or an unattractive woman. So that's Pam Bondi's role, I think, to just stand there and be attractive and just just kind of BS the public. Same thing with Caroline Levitt. Same thing with Christy Noem. So I think that Trump just kind of uses them as a front and just stands behind women that are like conventionally attractive. And he just kind of uses them as BS buffers. So honestly, a lot of what we have in America right now, pardon the expression, it's bottom B. And I am not using the swear word because this is a Bible study channel. But a lot of women, they just kind of want to be the bottom B. And that just means they just kind of want to co-sign a man's nonsense. I mean, I feel like American culture is just rife with just a bottom B attitude. And that's why women's leadership really isn't worth a whole heck of a lot in America right now. Now, the Church of England, the Anglican Church of England, the new head is a woman, and I've learned a little bit more about her. When I first saw her, I was kind of impressed with her. She was giving a speech and a prayer, and I was kind of impressed with it, and it was like maybe 15 minutes or so, and I was just like, okay, well, whatever, good for her. Now, the Bible pretty much says that a pastor needs to have a wife. So in biblical terms, not like New Age terms, not progressive terms, of course, that is going to be a man. I really do think that that's for the better. I think there are a lot of reasons why men should be in pastoral positions as opposed to women. And there are just many reasons. I mean, first of all, I do think that ministry, it can be dangerous. It can be rough business, especially if you're really out and about trying to evangelize to people. There are certain situations where it would not be appropriate for a woman to be trying to evangelize. I also see how a woman in a pastoral position could just really just kind of become a problem. Uh, just for, numerous reasons, just because of what that could possibly attract. And again, I mean, there's just too much bottom B word culture among women in America right now. A lot of women don't really take a lot of strong stances for anything independently. All they do is latch on to something that a man already said and co-sign. So, I mean, there's just kind of a lot of problems there. And this one woman who is the new head of the Church of England, she is a progressive, and she promotes a lot of like progressive ideals and stuff like that are not biblical. Now, I mean, if we're being completely honest, the model for like marriage in the Bible is a man and a woman. Now, I mean, I live in America. This is supposed to be a free country. I am not interested in trying to dictate anyone what to do with their personal life. But biblically speaking, that's that's that. So I mean, it doesn't make any sense for a woman in that kind of a position, or for any church to really be uh, promoting LGBT issues, or what God was that word, like affirming, like LGBT affirming. It doesn't really make sense biblically speaking. Now, I'm not one who thinks that you need to point anyone out or shun anyone or mistreat anyone or anything like that, but this new lady who's the head of the Church of England, she seems to be really progressive in that way, and is like pro LGBT. And so basically she just latched on to just a bunch of stuff that really a bunch of men are saying, because usually when people discuss LGBT issues, they're almost always talking about men. Very rarely, I feel like, are they talking about lesbians. So again, I mean, I feel like she is just kind of wanting approval from like progressive men. She's not really standing for the Bible. And that woman, I mean, I can tell she's very smart and she knows better. I mean, she just kind of wants to be one of the cool girls. And so there it is. There it is. Women leadership usually is just a tool for a man in this modern world, unfortunately. And women who really kind of take a stance for something, a lot of them face a lot of opposition based on them being a woman. So there's that. Now I'm going to tell a story about a church that I went to once that had a female pastor. And now this isn't really a great story. Like, I mean, it's not like a real salacious story, not a real interesting story, but I did go to this one church once for probably 7 or 8 years, and it had a female pastor. She was an all right lady. She was an all right pastor. Eventually, I stopped going to her church because she repeated herself a lot. And she would stand up in the pulpit and she would like tell stories, and she would just say certain things, and I would know what she was about to say before she even said it. But one good thing about that church is that was the first time that I really kind of got involved in a church. And so I was grateful to that church and those opportunities. The one problem that I had with that particular pastor is she did talk a lot, and she did like talk about people's business, like she was gossipy, and she's a pastor. And so sometimes she would just like talk about people and just kind of tell people's business, and it would be like, now that's why people don't like female pastors. But yeah, I mean, there was that. Eventually I left that church, started going somewhere else, because I felt like I heard absolutely everything that this woman had to say. But there were some people who I kept in touch with who went to that church. And this woman, okay, so this was probably during like the George Bush, the younger administration. And this is probably when Fox News started to get popular. This pastor would watch Fox News and just like repeat things that she heard on Fox News from the pulpit. And maybe a year after I left, Hurricane Katrina happened. And she would repeat things she saw on Fox News, such as, well, they were warned, well, stuff like that. Just not showing a lot of sympathy to the hurricane victims. And this is a pastor. This is a pastor. So I was already gone, but I know a lot of other people left after that because this lady was a white lady, but there were a lot of black people that went to that church, so a lot of people left. And then after that, I don't know what happened. After a few more years, that church turned into something else. The building is still there, but I guess the church sold the property, and that was a completely different sort of a business. So there's that. And I'm not saying it all happened because it's a woman pastor, but I'm just telling you that that was my experience with a woman pastor. Now, again, I feel like looking towards the future, I mean, there are more women that are involved with church than there are men. So if we want churches to function, I mean, they might have to let women run it. They might have to. Unless more men decide to step up into that role and take it seriously. Now, me saying that I don't know that female leadership in the church is a great idea, there are a lot of failures, a lot of male failures as well. So again, they may need to let women run it. Maybe just give them a different title or something. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. But I just want to talk about that a little bit, talk about female leadership, how overall I'm kind of disappointed in it because it just seems like, women in high profile leadership positions, all they really do is just really, even from their position that they're in, they stand behind a man and go, with that position, regardless of what the position is. And I do think that female input is important because when a bunch of men get together and it's just kind of like a closed off situation, usually it's not a good thing. It ends up not being a good thing. There needs to be that balance. Voices need to be heard. I don't think that anyone needs to be shut out, men or women. So that's all I have to say there, and I think that that's it. Yeah, women need to stop trying to be the bottom B word, which is all a lot of them want to be. It's just, the bottom B word. So bottom B word culture is a problem. Bye.